Luke 7, verse 34. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and you say, "Here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners." It's striking how tax collectors are lumped in with gluttons, drunkards, and sinners. I think if I worked for Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, I might be rather offended by that. But in Jesus' day, tax collectors were viewed as beyond the pale. For a start, they were collecting taxes for an occupying power, the Romans. They probably won the concession to be a tax collector by a bidding process, not because of their honesty. And they were generally despised because they would extort extra out of the people for their own enrichment. In other words, tax collectors were viewed as generally corrupt and probably rather heartless. Well, we may not think of ourselves as corrupt or as drunkards or gluttons, but how can we avoid the label of sinner? If you look up sinner on Google, it says, a person who transgresses against divine law. And John 1 says, if we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. In one of the many forms of confession, it says this, Most holy and merciful Father, we confess to you and to one another that we have sinned against you by what we have done, by what we have left undone. We have not loved you with all our whole heart and mind and strength. We have not fully loved our neighbours as ourselves. We have not always had in us the mind of Christ. You alone know how often we have grieved you by wasting our gifts, by wandering from your ways. That confession sweeps all of us into its reach. So we all need a friend. And thank God that we have an ultimate friend in Jesus. What today's meditation calls such a soul friend. And this is what James Janaway had to say. If kindness and love are what you seek, there is no one as sweet or generous as Jesus. If comfort and pleasure are what you desire, there is no one, when the soul is surrounded with a multitude of perplexities, who can so much delight, refresh, and raise it. If power and majesty, with the ability to defend from injuries and revenge wrongs, signify anything to poor fragile creatures, there is no one yet who has ever overcome Jesus. For whoever contended with God and prospered, if vigour and care in all our affairs can entice the helpless sinner, there is no one who will take more care of us and do more for us than Jesus. If freedom of access, despite the infinite distance between us, signify anything that might commend a friend, there is no better welcome for a poor beggar than at the house of this mighty prince. If faithfulness, in the greatest difficulties, raise the esteem of a friend, no one has ever trusted Jesus and then been let down. Are riches and wealth worth having? There is no one who can give a kingdom as a token of love and give everlasting glory and heaven except Jesus. Do pity in misery, sympathy in suffering, compassion in distress, endear and commend a friend. There is no one more tender-hearted than Jesus. Are honours and promotions such great things? Jesus will make his chosen people kings and priests, setting them on thrones and commending them before the whole world. Is suitability a consideration to make this match? There is no one better suited to satisfy our desires than the Infinite One. Do poor simple creatures who have undone themselves by their folly and indiscretion need a wise counsellor to untangle their sad intricacies? There is no one among the profound politicians and grave sages of the world to be compared to Jesus. Does a dying man with a never-dying soul that is to pass into an eternal state lack a never-dying and immortal friend? There is no one else who can stand by him, for God alone is immortal. Are not friends sometimes furthest away when one has most need of them? Then Jesus is a friend to be highly prized, since he will never be absent. For does not God fill heaven and earth? What do you think of such a soul friend? Is not such a one worth seeking, one who will ensure your soul reaches its destination? There is no one who ever did more for souls than Jesus. Would it not be true prudence to make sure of such a friend we must have for our friend, or else we will be miserable forever?